room. This is the play that just occurred.
That's like she tries to slide over right there, and Hartley just kind of falls and makes collision with that lower leg. You see her immediately grab it. And she went down hard and was clearly in a lot of pain.
Sophie Cunningham goes down after a brutal knee collision, and many fans, including Sophie's own family, immediately call out the officiating for failing to protect players. To them, this was just the latest chapter in what feels like a disturbing pattern. The dangerous groin hit that sidelined Caitlin Clark, the infamous eye poke from J.C. Sheldon, the reckless foul by Marina Maberry. Each matchup with the Sun leaves someone on the field in pain, and frustration is boiling over. But instead of collapsing, Indiana fought back. Behind Kelsey Mitchell's career-high 38 points, Odyssey Sim stepping in off a hardship deal, and Lexie Hull's clutch 3, the Fever stormed to a 99-93 overtime comeback when no one thought possible. The question, though, is how this team turned it around after a disastrous first half. If you support Sophie and the Fever, then let's wish her a speedy recovery in the comments below.
Shot clock down to 6 for the Fever. Turner, up fade. Turner kicks it. Hull three-pointer. Bottom!
Indiana,
7 on the shot clock, 25 seconds in regulation.
I gotta get to the rim.
Charles has to hoist and connects. Wow. The Indiana Fever prove their resiliency.
Fever dub! Dub in the chat. Yeah.
Let's go. For Indiana, the problem started long before the opening tip. The Fever came into this game down all 3 of their true point guards. Caitlin Clark is still sidelined with the groin injury she suffered in mid-July. Sydney Carlson lost to a torn ACL, and Ari McDonald is recovering from a broken foot. That left the roster without a natural floor general, forcing coach Stephanie White to completely rethink how her team would function offensively. Instead of polishing sets for the postseason like most squads this late in the year, Indiana had to narrow the playbook and rely on simplified actions that wouldn't overwhelm players.
After Phoenix, it was a quick turnaround to figure out, how we're going to play without, Ari and Sid. And now we got to figure out how we're going to play without Soph. And we've got to figure out, who can play in certain roles. What are our substitution patterns going to be? What kind of wrinkles can we throw out there? It doesn't get easier. And I think we come back and have Minnesota twice, right? So it's really good mentally, physically, and emotionally for us. And then it gives us practice time, which we're going to need.
Being asked to handle the ball outside their usual roles. The challenge only grew once the game began. Midway through the second quarter, Sophie Cunningham collided hard while battling under the rim and managed just about 10 minutes before she had to leave the floor for good. Her shooting and toughness had been central to White's patchwork rotation, and losing her meant the Fever was down not just bodies but spacing, a core ingredient of their offense. Suddenly, roles expanded for players who weren't prepared to play heavy minutes, and the White staff was left balancing energy, matchups, and sheer survival. By halftime, rotations looked...
We got Sophie Cunningham writhing around in pain, definitely hurt, and Sophie's one tough cookie. If Sophie's kicking and screaming like this, no Will Farrell. She's in pain. We even have Connecticut Sun players. Look at that, Connecticut Sun players, Connecticut Sun training staff coming up to her as the Fever starts making their way down.
Dangerously thin, and the Fever were left plugging holes wherever they opened. On paper, everything pointed toward a loss. Instead of collapsing, the team channeled the disarray, treating it as an opening to showcase grit. It was survival mode, but it was also a statement that reduced numbers didn't mean reduced resistance. What nobody in the arena realized at that point was that the hardest moment of the night hadn't yet arrived. It came next when Cunningham's brutal collision not only changed...
Every day in our huddle, that's what we say together. And it's just more than words for us. I think when you see things happening, there's no other way. If you spread apart, the season goes down quicker than anything else. And we talk about with the injuries, people are probably expecting us to just fold, just like you said, and that's not us. We come in the locker room and we're motivated. We continue to be motivated every single time we step on that floor. At halftime, we're motivated, chip away, and that's our mindset. And just continue to uplift people. When one person goes down, we say it all the time, the next woman stands up. And that's really just been our motto and been what we've had to do a lot this season, and that's what we're just going to continue to do.
Changed Indiana's lineup, but also reignited the fire around how the game was being officiated. The defining moment came midway through the second quarter when Sophie Cunningham went down in one of the scariest scenes of the season. On a drive to the rim, Bria Hartley lost her balance and fell directly into Cunningham's right knee. The collision stopped the arena cold. Cunningham immediately clutched at her knee, screaming as she crumpled to the floor. She couldn't put weight on her leg and had to be helped off by trainers with a fever, announcing afterward that she would undergo an MRI to determine.
How does she magically lower her shoulder into Sophie Cunningham's legs? Can somebody please explain that to me? Can somebody please explain those physics? Again, don't want to hear it, because this is a dirty play.
The damage. No foul was called on the play, and that decision immediately ignited outrage across the arena and online. Fans reacted instantly, many standing, waving at referees, and shouting for a stoppage as Cunningham writhed in pain under the basket. The game continued as she lay on the floor, and the sight fueled anger, not just in the stands, but also among her teammates. Their starter had to be carried away, and there was no whistle, no signal from the officials.
Do you have an update on Sophie? Yeah. Yeah, MRI tomorrow.
Sorry, just quickly on something. What's going through your mind when you see her down like that and you're jogging over there?
I'm like, holy shit. I mean, especially the way that she fell and, how she was holding herself and how much pain she was in. At the time, it's like crap, and then you go down there and you see her and it's like, okay, just want her to calm down and be able to regroup.
After the game, Coach Stephanie White admitted that her first thought upon seeing Cunningham in such visible distress was blunt and unfiltered. For most fans, this was more than an accident. Coming against the sun, it felt like another addition to a troubling trend. Memory of previous collisions hung over the moment. JCS Sheldon's head poke on Caitlin Clark back in June, Marina Maber's hard foul that flattened Clark, and Sheldon's knee to Clark's groin on July 15th, the injury that has kept her out for over a month. Many fans and commentators openly labeled those plays reckless and questioned why stronger disciplinary action hadn't been enforced. Against that backdrop,
Oh, and Cunningham is down. My goodness. Scary moment as we went to commercial. Sophie Cunningham hit the floor hard, and she is being helped off the floor, heading back to the locker room.
if emotions were already high, they escalated further when Cunningham's family weighed in. Her sister Lindsay posted directly at the WNBA, writing, WNBA, maybe you should focus less on finding players for commenting on your poor officiating and more on hiring officials that are able to call a consistent game and protect your athletes. Pathetic. Praying for you. That wasn't just a frustrated fan in the stands. It was a family member outraged by what she saw as a dangerous environment. Paula Cunningham, Sophie's mother, shared a since-deleted post calling Hartley plain mean and saying she acts out of control. Those words carried weight in shaping how people perceive the play. For many who saw the comments, it underscored the feeling that players weren't being protected. At the heart of all this was the question of accountability.
Bria Hartley deserves zero benefit of the doubt. And Sophie Cunningham's family not too happy. I believe this is Mama C. Hartley is a disgruntled player having trouble everywhere she goes. She's playing mean and plays out of control. Looked out of control to me. Maybe you should focus, her sister. Maybe you should focus less on finding players for commenting on your poor officiating and more about hiring officials that are capable to call a consistent game and protect your athletes. Pathetic. Praying for you. The only good thing positive surrounding Sophie Cunningham coming out of this game, she looked in good spirits in the locker room.
Ability. Hartley has had past court clashes noted in reporting, and her involvement only intensified the reaction. Fans on social media accused her of being reckless and called for suspension, while others pushed the league to step in and re-examine officiating standards, whether intentional or accidental. The fact that no whistle accompanied Cunningham's injury made frustration boil over. That shift was crucial. It signaled that this game wasn't going to be decided by sympathy or by officials finally changing course. The Fever began leaning on emotion and resilience. As the closing stretch loomed, soon enough, all that intensity funneled through one player whose sudden takeover would rewrite not only this game, but also Indiana's entire trajectory moving forward. Kelsey Mitchell answered the chaos with one of the most...
I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of you. I'm so proud of you guys. I know that sometimes it sounds like just a word when we talk about being resilient, but it's not, man. It's how we live. It's how y'all live, and it's a tribute to you. It's a tribute to your connectedness, your togetherness, your toughness, your mindset. You never give up gritty attitudes. Like, that's what it takes. That's what it takes. And
explosive scoring stretches the Fever have ever seen. She looked quiet before halftime with only 4 points. But after the break, her entire approach shifted. She demanded the ball, attacked every matchup, and by the end of the night had dropped 38 points, tying her career high and marking the highest single-game scoring performance in the league this season. Even more staggering, 34 of those points came after halftime, including 10 in overtime when Indiana needed them most. The efficiency matched the volume.
An assassin, Kelsey Mitchell, has a new career high. Backdoor Mitchell bouncing in the paint for two. Kelsey Mitchell, the big is matched up. Mitchell squeezing through for two and the foul. Fouls on the other end. It's Mitchell launching it and connecting.
Mitchell shot 11 of 22 from the field, 5 of 8 from deep, and 11 of 12 at the free throw line, while also dishing 6 assists to keep the offense from collapsing into isolation. Each shot seemed heavier than the last, with the margin of error razor thin. Down 21 earlier, one wasted trip could have swung momentum back to Connecticut. Instead, she hit big moments. Step-back jumpers to force, back-to-back threes to erase deficits, and free throws that sealed overtime possessions. It wasn't reckless gunning. It was precise execution under pressure. Coach Stephanie White admitted afterward that
New England Ford dealers and the Ford Bronco family goat modes, the official SUVs of the Connecticut Sun. Mitchell connects.
Reading the defense and reckless closeout, so you have to make sure you let the shooter land here. Landing space needs to happen. Looks like Mitchell also clutching her leg here as well.
Reckless close-up review. If it is, it's going to be 2-1. Okay, go to 1 in.
that she was speechless, insisting Mitchell had put us on her back, making big shot after big shot, big play after big play. From the sideline, it looked that way, too. Even the Suns' defenders, who spent most of the second half glued to her every movement, couldn't stop the rhythm she'd locked into. By overtime, there was no doubt whose game it was. This eruption also pushed her.
Kelsey, your second half, you did 34 of your points just the last halftime. What took over you? How did you get it done on the floor?
I think it was more about what we did from a standpoint of like the mindset and the mentality. From half to half, it sucked for me. First half, it just wasn't, and I think that, it wasn't as well for our group, but the resiliency is true in our room. Seeing Soph go down and then knowing what happened with Sid and then knowing what happened with Eric and then knowing what happened with Cece, it's like, I think a lot of it was just God and being able to like stay prepared and stay in your mental, mental state to be able to compete, but I really think that that's the most resilient that we've ever been because of everything we've been through. So I think a lot of it you just tap into your team and you just love in your team, and I think, great things can happen.
Into franchise history. The 38-point outing marked her 11th career 30-point game, passing Tamika Catchings for the most in Fever history. That's not just a milestone. It underscores Mitchell's consistency as a scorer across seasons, now amplified in a year where her team leans on her more heavily than ever. At nearly 20 points per game, she's top 5 in the league, and nights like this put her squarely in the MVP conversation. Recognition came quickly. Caitlin Clark, who wasn't in the building due to a family matter, posted on social media just 2 words: MVP Kels. Mitchell's performance proved the Fever had more than one franchise anchor. She didn't look like a placeholder until Clark returned. She looked like a centerpiece capable of carrying the roster when everything else was wobbling.
I don't even think there are any words. I mean, when you look at Kelsey's play, you look at what she means to the squad. Coming out that second half and going off the way that she did, I think it kind of speaks for her case in general. She comes out, she defends, she scores the ball, she plays 40 minutes a game, and it's just and she still consistently puts up these numbers. I feel like if she's not MVP, shoot.
MVP is crazy. I don't even think I thought about that.
That's me.
That mattered beyond the stat sheet. Indiana's 99-93 overtime win was the largest comeback in franchise history, fueled almost entirely by Mitchell's surge. Instead of fading under injury, foul frustration, and Connecticut's physical play, the Fever saw Mitchell drag them back into a playoff spot they had been slipping out of. Without her eruption, that game ends in another loss. Another disappointment stacked onto the season. With it, the team's outlook shifted.
In a low stance defensively, matched up with Mitchell. Fires up a 3. Kelsey Mitchell! Oh my! Mitchell comes back for it with 8. Sims, up fake, back out, Mitchell. Got Rivers in the air, Kelsey Mitchell again! You betcha! Wow!
Still,
Did overnight. Still, Mitchell's brilliance was only part of the equation. Behind every historic takeover are teammates who fill gaps, steady nerves, and make the plays that never hit the headlines. As demanding as her performance was, Indiana still needed contributions from places nobody expected to survive the night. What stood out most in Indiana's comeback was the crew of players who don't usually dominate headlines, but shaped every possession that mattered. Kelsey Mitchell's masterpiece was the centerpiece. But the victory was built on the...
We will never be counted out because that is worth gold. That is worth gold. Kels, goddamn baby. Put us on your back. Oh, big time.
The work of teammates who studied the game when it could have spun away. Inter V17 Odyssey, Sims embodied that perfectly. Signed on a hardship contract just to keep the roster afloat. She stepped in and looked like she'd been part of the rotation all season. Sims finished with 19 points and 7 assists across extended minutes. But her value went beyond the box score. She broke Connecticut's full-court pressure, navigated traps, and provided a steadying influence whenever the offense showed cracks. In a game where the Fever could have folded...
Mabry knifes off the screen, Charles is doubled.
And Indiana looks like they're in a zone right now.
Kick out and stolen by Mitchell. Explodes 2-on-1. Sims elevates for 2 and a foul.
Bug with their point guards. This is where you have Odyssey Sims coming in. Kelsey Mitchell making a great heads-up play here, but Odyssey Sims has done a great job early on coming in.
Without a true point guard, Sims gave them someone who could organize possessions and deliver Mitchell the ball in rhythm. Aaliyah Boston was just as essential, anchoring the interior with a type of performance that doesn't always glow on highlight reels but reshapes games. She closed the night with 14 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. Her 15th double-double of the season, setting a new franchise record for most in a single year. Boston's work against constant double teams protected Indiana on both ends. She extended possessions by fighting for second-chance rebounds, made the outlet passes that reset the offense.
Boston backs down Hartley. Aaliyah Boston position. Picks up the dribble. Shot clock winding down to 7. Mabry, lob pass. Charles catches. No foul call. That's a huge no call. Looks for cutters. Charles the defense. Back on to Boston. Tina Charles. Backdoor Mitchell. Pouncing in the paint for 2. 30 points for Mitchell. That's the 4th on Charles.
Can't get caught ball watching right there. Great recognition by Boston as Mitchell makes that backdoor cut.
And erase mistakes with timely blocks. That stability underneath was the backbone of the Fever's run back into the game. And then came the moment everyone inside the arena will remember. Lexie Hull's dagger. With 44.9 seconds left in overtime and Indiana clinging to control, Hull slid into the corner and buried a 3 that slammed shut the Suns' hopes of a comeback. Her 8 points on paper don't reflect the weight of that shot, but in context, it was massive. Hull has built her role on...
Shot clock down to 6 for the Fever. Turner, up fade. Turner kicks it. Hull 3-pointer. Bottom!
Indiana
Grip plays, defense, hustle, and rotations. But on this night, she delivered the strike that sealed the outcome. Natasha Howard chipped in with the bruising presence the Fever needed. She posted 18 points and 9 rebounds, pushing back against Connecticut's physicality in the paint. Howard absorbed contact, moved bodies off the glass, and attacked gaps to keep Indiana from becoming one-dimensional. Her scoring stretch in the second half came right as the Fever were...
Circles back. Howard, assertive, 2 and the foul. Fever fans have come alive, and a chance to make this a one-possession game. Wow.
Clawing their way back into striking distance, giving Mitchell the room she needed to rest momentarily before her scoring explosion. Brianna Turner's contribution was quieter, but no less important. Coach Stephanie White singled her out after the game for her defense in the second half. With her length and activity, Turner disrupted the Suns' rhythm, switched across multiple positions, and forced extra passes that disrupted their flow. Her plus-minus reflected just how impactful those possessions were, even without a gaudy scoring line.
You are the consummate professional. We love you. We appreciate you. You are huge. AB, point forward. And like, look, you can't underestimate what it means to have somebody like her who just does whatever we ask, right? Does whatever. I mean, everybody really. Lex, that was a huge. Toss your activity all night long.
Turner provided the stops Indiana needed to turn Mitchell's buckets into a genuine rally instead of empty scoring runs. What all of these efforts illustrated was a collective refusal to collapse. Indiana was without Caitlin Clark. Sophie Cunningham went out early, and the backcourt was stripped thin. Yet player after player stepped into the void. Sims carried the ball. Boston held the interior. Howard balanced the offense. Hull knocked down the shot of the game. And Turner secured the defensive backbone. It wasn't just one star dragging a patchwork roster across the finish line. It was a team lifting together at the exact moment they were expected to unravel. The takeaway goes beyond a single result. Performances like these send a message. Even shorthanded, the Fever can't be dismissed.
And that's what it's gonna take. Okay, that's what it's gonna take. We gotta play free. We gotta play with no pressure. But we fight. Live that resilience every day. And we will accomplish what we want to accomplish. Okay, come on.
Yeah. Here we go. Together, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And that defiance set the stage for a broader truth about what this win revealed for Indiana in a season so many thought was about survival. The Fever's victory over Connecticut showed more than grit. It kept their playoff hopes alive with Caitlin Clark still sidelined and Sophie Cunningham lost during the game. Indiana leaned on Kelsey Mitchell's third